Today we're here with Bob Westbrook. Bob Westbrook's been with the Washington Township Fire Department for 10 years, but you've been in the fire service for...
A little bit longer than that.
A little bit longer than that?
We'll just leave it right there.
Okay.
That's good enough.
We won't embarrass you today. All right, what we got going on?
Well, what we're going to do today, Jeremy, is we're going to learn how to use a fire extinguisher. We're going to actually do the hands-on. And I wanted to go over a couple things with you really quick. And this is an ABC extinguisher,
okay.
And it is pretty much an all-purpose extinguisher. And this is typically what you're going to find for a household application. It'll work on a variety of fires: Class A, Class B, Class C.
Now, when you say a variety of fires, you mean
variety of type. Right.
Like what's on fire?
Exactly.
Okay.
Today, what we're going to be using is a CO2 type extinguisher.
Okay.
Now there's a reason that we use this for training, because usually in the training situation we're going to have several people involved, and if we're using the dry chemical powder, it tends to make a mess.
Yeah.
So
less mess the better, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
I'm with you.
So we're going to use the CO2 type extinguisher, and how this one works is when the CO2, when we point this at the fire and we squeeze the handle, the CO2 actually displaces the oxygen around the fire and it causes it to go out.
A little chemistry.
Little chemistry,
right.
Little fire chemistry, and but it doesn't leave any residue either, so we don't have the situation with the powder and all that stuff going all over. So that's what we're going to use today. And like I said, we use these for training, but for a real fire situation, we're going to want to go with the ABC.
Okay. So we're going to get to put some fire out today?
Absolutely. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Some people get intimidated because they don't know how to use the extinguisher, but we use an acronym as a way to remind people what to do if they need to use the fire extinguisher. And we use the acronym PASS.
PASS, okay.
P-A-S-S. And what PASS stands for is the P is for pulling this pin, and then A is for aiming the nozzle at the base of the fire. Okay. We're going to, first S is for squeezing the handle down, and the second S is for sweeping side to side at the base of the fire.
Okay.
And that concludes our acronym for PASS. Pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. Got that?
Got it. Pull, aim, squeeze, sweep.
Right. For your home fire extinguisher, a couple things that are important to do. And turning it upside down and giving it a little shake every once in a while is not a bad idea. It keeps that powder from, becoming hard in the bottom of the extinguisher.
It'll cake down there sometimes?
Sure,
okay.
Absolutely, it sure will. And the other thing is that, fire extinguishers have a life expectancy. Every 5 to 7 years, you should replace your fire extinguishers.
Okay.
And the reason that they have to be replaced is they use rubber seals inside of these to keep the top fastened to the rest of the extinguisher. Sure. And over time, that rubber deteriorates and it can leak off. And so when you grab it, if you have a fire burning on the stove and you grab that extinguisher and it doesn't work, then that's a problem.
See, on this one, it's also got a gauge.
Yeah, yeah, and you'll have a gauge on the ABC. Some of the real small ones, like the 1 pound ones, may not have a gauge, but most of them are going to have a gauge. And if you glance quickly at that gauge, it has a red background, and then at about 12 o'clock position, there's a little green stripe. And so you want to make sure there's going to be a little indicator on there, and you kind of want to make sure that that's in that green zone.
Okay.
Because if you go on either side of that, it's either not enough pressure or too much pressure.
Good deal.
So you want it right in the middle.
All right.
All right, so that pretty much covers the ABC extinguisher. So I'm going to give you the CO2 that we talked about earlier.
Good deal.
And you ready to practice trying to put out some fire?
I am.
All right.
Let's do it.
It's important to remember when using a fire extinguisher, what you're using it on. If we were outside and maybe this was a trash can or something like that on fire, we don't know what's burning. So we want to start at a safe distance. Let's say if we had an aerosol can inside of a trash can and that happened to explode, you'd want to be far enough back before that you would be safe before you started going in to put out the fire. So
makes sense.
The other thing that's important to keep in mind, Jeremy, is making sure that you're upwind. You don't want to be downwind and be breathing the smoke. Because as you well know, the most dangerous thing about a fire is not the fire, it's the smoke. So we want to stay out of the smoke. So we're going to start, and a fire extinguisher will tell you and give you a range of about how far you can start, how far back you need to be, I should say, when you start using the extinguisher. Well, the CO2, we're going to have to get in a little bit closer to have the CO2 work, because it's really an indoor fire extinguisher. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. All right. Yeah. All right, so now we're gonna pull the pin.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to aim that horn at the base of the fire.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to squeeze the handle and start sweeping side to side. There you go. All right, that's good. Good job. Now we're going to slowly back out. We never want to turn our back to a fire. Take a few steps back.
Okay.
Now at this point, we're going to reassess. Is this fire out? And if it's not out, we may have to use the extinguisher again. if we're using the ABC extinguisher like most people would be at home, you might, once you put the initial fire out, you may have to get a rake or a stick or something and separate the burning materials and maybe put it on there again and hit it again to actually get all the fire out.
Thanks a lot, Bob. It was a lot of fun.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Okay. Just remember all the things that we covered today. Using the PASS acronym to operate a fire extinguisher. Just as important as using a fire extinguisher, though, is placement inside your house. So take a look at some of our other videos that cover that. Also, if you have any other questions about using a fire extinguisher, you can always talk to your local fire department. Find some guy, because they all have a Bob. Every fire department has a Bob. So hit him up, because they got a lot of good information to give you. Once again, thanks a lot, Bob.
No problem.